My brother didn't just crash my dad's irreplaceable Mustang. He tried to sell it for a fraction of its worth, triggering a final twist my father had foreseen from beyond the grave. My 1969 Mustang Eleanor wasn't just a car, she was the last piece of my dad I had left. We'd bought her as a rust bucket shell when I was 15, a father-son project that was supposed to last us through my high school years. It ended up being the thing that got me through his passing. Every weekend for 5 years, I was in that garage, sanding, welding, wrenching, pouring every ounce of grief and love into the polished chrome and deep cherry red paint. The day her 302 V8 engine roared to life for the first time, I felt him there with me, his hand on my shoulder. She was, without exaggeration, my most prized possession. My younger brother Leo never understood. To him, she was just an old car, a prop. Leo lived his life through a phone screen, chasing clout and validation from strangers online. He was the golden child, the charming one who could talk his way out of any trouble, leaving me to clean up his messes. Our parents saw his ambition where I saw a shallow obsession with image. So, when he approached me at our family's annual summer barbecue, phone in hand, I was immediately on guard. "Hey, bro," he said, flashing that $1,000,000 smile that always made my mom melt. "Can I grab Eleanor's keys for a sec? The lighting is insane right now. I just want to get a quick pic for my story. You know, the keys dangling from the ignition, that whole aesthetic." My gut clenched. "No, Leo. You know the rule. No one drives her but me." "I'm not gonna drive her," he scoffed, rolling his eyes. "God, you're so paranoid. It's literally just for a photo. 5 minutes, tops. I won't even turn the engine over." He leaned in closer, dropping his voice. "Mom's watching. Don't make a scene." I glanced over and saw my mom giving me that look. The "don't you dare upset your brother" look. I sighed, the familiar weight of being the responsible older sibling settling on my shoulders. It was just a picture. What could possibly go wrong? "Fine," I grumbled, fishing the keys from my pocket. The custom-stamped leather keychain felt heavy in my palm. 5 minutes, and Leo, I swear to God, if you even think about starting her— "Chill! I got it," he said, snatching the keys before I could finish. He jogged off towards the driveway, already framing a shot with his phone. 5 minutes turned into 10. 10 turned into 20. The burgers were coming off the grill, and my dad's old playlist was wafting through the backyard, but a cold knot of dread was tightening in my stomach. I pulled out my phone and called him. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I excused myself from the table, my heart starting to hammer against my ribs. I walked out to the front of the house, my eyes scanning the empty driveway where Eleanor should have been parked. She was gone. Panic, cold and sharp, stabbed through me. I spent the next hour frantically calling Leo, his friends, anyone I could think of, my voice getting tighter with each unanswered ring. My parents waved off my concern. "Oh, he probably just took it for a quick spin around the block to impress a girl. He'll be back." An hour and a half after he'd left, I heard it. The low, grinding groan of a heavy-duty engine and the unmistakable beep, beep, beep of a vehicle reversing. I ran to the front door, praying it was him, that he'd just run out of gas. But the sight that greeted me turned my blood to ice. It was a flatbed tow truck, its yellow emergency lights painting our quiet suburban street in sickly, pulsing strokes. And perched on the back, like a fallen warrior, was Eleanor. The entire front end was a mangled ruin of chrome and steel, the beautiful cherry-red paint split open like a wound. One of the headlights was dangling by a wire. The tow truck driver got out, a grim look on his face. But my eyes were locked on the passenger side door. It swung open, and Leo hopped out. He was completely unscathed, not a scratch on him. He looked at the wreckage on the truck bed. Then his eyes found mine across the lawn, and he smiled. It wasn't a nervous smile or an apologetic one. It was a wide, placid, almost triumphant grin that didn't reach his eyes. He wasn't looking at the car. He was looking right at me. The world narrowed to the space between me and my brother. The sound of my mom's gasp, my dad's muttered curse, the low rumble of the tow truck. It all faded into a dull roar in my ears. The only thing I could see was that sickening, placid smile on Leo's face. Something inside me, a tightly wound coil of patience I'd maintained for years, finally snapped. "What did you do?" I asked, my voice dangerously low as I stalked across the lawn towards him. Leo's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, replaced by his default look of arrogant nonchalance. "Chill out, man. Some idiot in a pickup ran a red light. It's not like I did it on purpose." Before I could respond, my mom was there, pushing past me to envelop Leo in a frantic hug. "Oh, my baby!" "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" She checked him over, her hands fluttering around his face and arms as if he were a toddler who'd scraped his knee. "I'm fine, Mom," he said, patting her back, while his eyes stayed locked on me. "Totally fine." My dad walked slowly over to the tow truck, placing a hand on the mangled fender of my car. He shook his head, then turned to me, his face a mask of disappointment. "I knew this car would be trouble," he said, not to Leo, but to me. A bitter, hysterical laugh bubbled up in my throat. "Trouble?" He took it without permission and destroyed it. "And you're looking at me?" "Don't raise your voice," my dad warned. "He was in an accident. The car is just metal. It can be fixed." "Fixed?" I shrieked, pointing at the crumpled wreck. "That's not a dent, Dad. That's totaled. He totaled Dad's car." The moment I said it, I knew I'd made a mistake. My mother's face hardened. "Don't you dare," she seethed, stepping between me and Leo. "Don't you dare use your father's memory to attack your brother. He is the one who could have been killed. It's just a thing, an object. Your brother is what's important." I stared at her, dumbfounded. The betrayal was so absolute, so complete, it felt like a physical blow. They saw a wrecked car. I saw 5 years of my life, the last tangible connection to my father, obliterated. And the person who did it was standing right there, being protected. The tow truck driver cleared his throat, holding a clipboard. "Gonna need a signature here, folks, and I need to know where you want it taken." He looked from my parents' coddling of Leo to my face, which I'm sure was a thundercloud of fury. "Kid's lucky," the driver added, trying to be helpful. Said he was clear out by the old miller's scrapyard when it happened. Long way to go for a joyride. Miller's scrapyard? That was 20 miles away, in the opposite direction of everything. It was a desolate industrial area. Why on earth would Leo be out there? The question barely had time to form before the driver spoke again. "Oh, almost forgot. These fell out of the glove box in the collision. Figured you'd want them." He handed me a large, clear plastic baggie containing Eleanor's original owner's manual, a tire pressure gauge, and a single folded piece of paper. My parents were still fussing over Leo, guiding him towards the house as if he were an invalid. I stood alone on the lawn under the flashing yellow lights, my hands shaking as I opened the bag. I pulled out the folded paper, assuming it was the insurance card. But it wasn't. It was a handwritten bill of sale for one 1969 Ford Mustang. The price listed made my stomach turn. $10,000, a criminal fraction of her actual value. The buyer's name was a man I'd never heard of, but it was the last line that made the world drop out from under my feet. Under the heading, "Seller's Signature," in my brother's familiar sloppy cursive, was my name. I stood frozen on the lawn, the flimsy piece of paper trembling in my hand. The flashing lights of the tow truck washed over the forged signature, making it seem like it was mocking me. $10,000. He had tried to sell my car, my dad's car, for the price of a used sedan. The accident wasn't an accident. It was an interruption. He wasn't on a joyride. He was on his way to cash in my soul for a quick payday. The cold fury that had been simmering inside me erupted into a white-hot inferno. I stormed into the house, the screen door slamming behind me with a crack like a gunshot. My family was in the living room. Leo was lounging on the couch, phone in hand like nothing had happened, while my mom brought him a glass of water. My dad was on the phone, presumably with the insurance company. I held up the bill of sale. "What the hell is this, Leo?" My voice wasn't yelling anymore. It was quiet, venomous. Leo glanced up, his eyes widening for a split second before his mask of indifference snapped back into place. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't you lie to me!" I roared, striding over to the couch and shoving the paper in his face. "Miller's scrapyard? $10,000? You were selling my car. You forged my signature to sell my car." My dad hung up the phone. "That's enough. Your brother was just in a serious accident. Have some compassion." "Compassion?" I laughed, a raw, ugly sound. "He crashed because he was on his way to sell it. He was stealing from me, from us. This car was Dad's. And Dad is gone!" My mother screamed, her face contorted with a grief I hadn't seen in years. "He's gone, and all you care about is that stupid hunk of metal in the driveway. Your brother could have been hurt. Why is that car more important to you than your own family?" The accusation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. They weren't listening. They couldn't see past the perfect image of their golden child to the snake lying underneath. They saw me as the obsessive one, the one who couldn't let go of the past, while Leo was just a boy who made a silly mistake. "It's not just a car," I said, my voice breaking. "You know what it is. You know what we put into it." I looked from my mom's furious face to my dad's disappointed glare, and finally to Leo, who was now staring at his phone, actively ignoring the implosion of our family that he had caused. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The desperate need for them to understand, to see the truth, evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. They had made their choice. Now, I would make mine. I walked out of the room without another word, went upstairs, and packed a bag. I grabbed my laptop, my documents, and the small box from my closet that held my father's watch and a few old photos. On my way out, I stopped at the wrecked shell of Eleanor. The tow truck driver was waiting patiently. "You decide where you want it?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, my voice flat. "Take it to my house. I'm going to fix her." It was a lie. I had no idea how I would fix her, or where I would even go. But I wasn't leaving her behind. As the truck pulled away, I glanced back at the house. My mom was watching from the window, her expression unreadable. I called my aunt, my dad's sister, the only person I thought might understand. I explained everything in a clipped, emotionless voice. The keys, the wreck, the bill of sale, my parents' reaction. She listened silently, and when I was done, she just said, "There's a lockbox in my office in the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet. Your father left it for you. The combination is your birthday. Maybe you should open it." I drove to her house, a sense of unreality washing over me. A lockbox? My dad had never mentioned it. I let myself in with the spare key she kept under a pot and found the heavy metal box right where she said it would be. My hands shook as I spun the dial. With a soft click, it opened. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was a single, unfamiliar key and a thick manila envelope. I opened the envelope and pulled out a letter in my dad's familiar, steady handwriting. It started with 3 words that made my blood run cold. "If Leo sold the Mustang—" My breath caught in my throat. I read the letter, my eyes flying across the page. Dad had seen this coming. He knew his younger son's character, his impulsiveness, his obsession with quick cash and easy living. The letter laid it all out. He wrote about his fear that Leo would one day see Eleanor not as a memory, but as a payday. He'd hoped I would never have to read this, but he'd prepared for the worst. The letter was a legal document, a notarized addendum to his will, stating that in the event of any attempt by Leo to sell or intentionally damage the Mustang, Leo was to be completely disinherited. Everything, his portion of the house, the savings bonds, the investments, would default to me. But that wasn't all. The key in the box wasn't for a car. It was for a safe deposit box at a downtown bank. Dad wrote that he had taken out a classic car insurance policy on the Mustang in my name only, the day we bought it. He'd been paying it secretly for years. The policy was for its full appraised value, a staggering $150,000. He'd also set up a trust fund, a small inheritance he'd meant for me to get when I turned 30, but the letter gave me instructions on how to access it immediately. He had, from beyond the grave, given me the ultimate escape hatch. His last words on the page were, "Your brother will make his own choices. You just worry about making yours. Take care of Eleanor, son, and take care of yourself." Tears I hadn't let myself shed streamed down my face. It wasn't just about the money, it was the validation. My dad had seen me. He had understood. He knew how much that car meant, and he had protected it and me. The next morning, I was a man on a mission. The insurance claim was surprisingly easy. The forged bill of sale and the tow truck driver's report of where he'd picked up the car were damning evidence of attempted fraud. The insurance company declared it a total loss due to the extensive frame damage. With the check for $150,000, I didn't buy a new car. I paid off the tow and storage fees, and then I bought back the salvage title for Eleanor. She was too damaged to ever drive safely again, but she was still mine. Then I went to a lawyer. The family meeting was a scene I will never forget. I had the lawyer present the documents at my parents' house. My mom scoffed at first, but her face turned pale as the lawyer explained the legal ramifications of the will's addendum. My dad just stared at the floor, his face ashen. Leo, for the first time in his life, looked genuinely terrified. His entire future, funded by our parents' indulgence, had just evaporated. He started shouting, calling me a thief, a liar. He lunged at me, but my lawyer, a surprisingly burly man, stepped between us. I looked at my brother, this hollow person who had been indulged and excused his entire life, and I felt nothing but a distant pity. I looked at my parents, who had chosen their favorite over their other child, and felt a profound sadness. "The house is now 75% mine," I stated calmly, my voice not shaking. "You can buy me out, or we can sell it and split the proceeds." Leo is no longer a beneficiary of Dad's estate. That was Dad's decision, not mine. In the end, my parents had to take out a second mortgage to buy out my share of the house. Leo had a full-blown meltdown, screaming about how I had ruined his life. But his words were empty. He had ruined his own life. I was just holding up the mirror. I walked away from that house and never looked back. I used the money to start over. I bought a small house with a big garage. The insurance money was enough to not only secure my future, but to do something special. I found the best custom car restoration shop in the state. I didn't ask them to make Eleanor roadworthy again. Instead, I commissioned them to turn her into a work of art. They painstakingly preserved what they could, mounting her polished engine on a stand, framing her iconic grille and taillights, and turning her salvaged bucket seats into furniture for my new living room. The crumpled hood, with its deep wounds, I had them mount on the garage wall, a reminder of the day everything changed. My brother's social media went dark for a while. I heard through my aunt that he had to get a real job, that my parents were making him pay rent. Their golden boy had finally lost his shine. Sometimes I feel a pang of sadness for the family I lost, but then I sit in my garage, surrounded by the resurrected soul of my father's last gift, and I know I made the right choice. My dad didn't just leave me a car, he left me a future, and I drive into it every single day.